The sting of ingratitude hit me like a slap across the face. I stood in my parents' gleaming marble kitchen in their Winnetka mansion, north of Chicago, clutching my phone so tightly my knuckles turned pale as the quartz countertops. My mom's voice, Karen's voice, crackled through the speaker, sharp and accusing. "After everything we've done for you, Emma, this is how you repay us?" I nearly laughed, bitter and hollow. 15 years of pouring my life into their world flashed before me. The Hawaiian vacations I'd funded, the country club memberships in Glencoe I'd paid for, the endless loans to my younger sister, Lily, that everyone knew would never come back. "Karen," I said, my voice steady despite the fire in my chest, "I can't keep bankrolling Lily's schemes. Her crypto startup is a black hole, and you know it." The words hung in the air, heavy as the crystal chandelier above. "Your sister has vision," Karen snapped back, her tone dripping with disdain. "Unlike you, hiding in your safe little data analyst job in Evanston. Lily takes risks. She's going places." Yeah, I thought, places like the slot machines at Joliet's casinos or whatever shady deals she's chasing. But I bit my tongue. I'd learned long ago that defending myself was like shouting into a void. "No," I said firmly. "I won't invest another cent." Silence roared on the other end, cold as the February wind off Lake Michigan. I could picture Karen's face, lips pursed, eyes narrowing like I'd betrayed the family creed. "I always knew she was jealous of her sister," she said finally, her voice low and venomous. The call ended with a click that echoed in the cavernous kitchen. I leaned against the custom island installed during the last remodel I'd paid for, me hands trembling. Late afternoon sunlight poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows, catching dust motes in the air and glinting off the fresh orchids Karen had delivered weekly. With my money, of course. Every vase, every imported tile, every luxury in this house carried my signature, my sacrifices. I'd been 20 when I started, fresh out of college, thinking if I just worked hard enough, I could keep this family afloat. Now, at 35, I was still paying for their dreams while living in a cramped studio apartment in Evanston to make ends meet. My phone buzzed, snapping me out of the haze. A text from Lily. "Come on, sis. Don't be like that. Meet me for dinner to talk?" I stared at the screen, her casual tone twisting the knife deeper. Delete. I grabbed my purse, the leather worn from years of use, and headed for the door. But my dad's voice stopped me cold. "Emma, wait." Michael stood in the doorway of his home office, his shoulders slumped, wearing that familiar look of discomfort he got when forced to pick a side. "Your mom means well," he said, his voice soft, almost pleading. "We just want what's best for the family." "Family," I repeated, the word tasting bitter. "Dad, I've lived in a shoebox for years to cover your lifestyle. When was the last time anyone asked what was best for me?" He shifted, his eyes darting to the hardwood floor, another upgrade I'd financed. "You've always been so capable, Emma. So independent." Independent because I had no choice, I wanted to scream. Capable because no one else in this family ever stepped up. But I didn't. I just nodded, my throat tight, and walked out into the crisp Chicago air. The weight of their expectations pressed down on me, but for the first time, a spark of something else flickered inside. Not guilt, not duty, but defiance. They thought I'd keep giving forever. They were about to learn how wrong they were. I drove away from my parents' Winnetka mansion, the Chicago skyline looming in the distance, a gray smudge against the dusk. My hands gripped the steering wheel, still shaking from the call with Karen. Her word jealous, ungrateful looped in my mind like a broken record. 15 years of playing the good daughter and one no was all it took to unravel everything. My phone buzzed again, vibrating against the passenger seat of my beat-up Honda. Another text from Lily. "Emma, seriously? Don't do this. Let's talk." I ignored it, the screen's glow fading as I merged onto the Eden's Expressway toward Evanston. Back at my studio apartment, a 400-square-foot box with peeling paint and a leaky faucet, I dropped my purse on the counter. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd paid for my parents' custom kitchen island, their imported orchids, their country club fees in Glencoe, while I lived like a broke college kid. Every bonus, every raise, every late-night shift at my analyst job had gone to them. I opened the fridge, half a carton of milk, a yogurt past its date, and slammed it shut. My life was a skeleton, stripped bare to prop up theirs. My phone lit up again. Lily, relentless. Sis, I need you to believe in me. This startup's gonna change everything. Dinner tomorrow? My finger hovered over the delete button, but her words gnawed at me. Believe in her? I'd believed in her through 2 failed apps, a shady NFT scheme, and countless sure-thing investments that vanished like smoke. I typed back, "No, Lily. I'm done." Sent. Then I blocked her number, my heart pounding like I'd just cut a lifeline. The next morning, I was brewing cheap coffee when a knock rattled my door. I froze, half expecting Lily to be standing there with her charming grin, ready to talk me into another bad idea. But it was Michael, my dad, looking out of place in his pressed polo, like he'd wandered into the wrong zip code. "Emma, can we talk?" he asked, his voice low, almost swallowed by the hum of the hallway radiator. I let him in, the air between us thick with unspoken history. He sat on my sagging couch, avoiding my eyes. "Your mom's upset," he started. "You know how she gets about family." "Family," I echoed, the word sharp on my tongue. "Dad, I've been carrying this family for years. When does it stop?" He fidgeted, his hands twisting together. "We just want what's best for everyone," he said. "Lily's got big dreams. She needs support." "Support?" I laughed, cold and brittle. "I've supported her gambling debts, her business trips to Joliet casinos, her car payments. I live here, look around so you and Mom can play golf at the country club. When does anyone support me?" Michael's face crumpled, but he didn't answer. He never did. "You're so strong, Emma," he said finally. "You always figure things out." Strong because I had to be. Because no one else would. I thought of the vacations I'd skipped, the promotions I'd turned down because they meant travel, and who'd manage their bills if I was gone. I thought of the boyfriends who left because I was too busy bailing out Lily or paying Mom's credit card. "I'm tired of figuring it out, Dad," I said. "I'm done." He stood, his shoulders heavy, and shuffled to the door. "We're a family, Emma. We stick together." The door clicked shut behind him, and I sank onto the couch, the weight of his words pressing down. Family. A word they wielded like a weapon, expecting me to fall in line. But something had shifted inside me. For the first time, I wasn't sure I wanted to. My phone stayed silent the rest of the day, but I knew the quiet wouldn't last. They'd come back, they always did, with guilt trips or promises or tears. And I'd have to decide how much of myself I was willing to give up to keep being their version of family. The next week passed in a blur of spreadsheets and late nights at my analyst job in Evanston. I buried myself in work, trying to drown out the echo of Karen's accusations and Michael's pleading. But the silence from my family was louder than their words. No texts, no calls, just an eerie calm that felt like the eye of a storm. I should have known it wouldn't last. On a gray Chicago morning, I was sorting through a pile of mail bills, junk, the usual when a crisp envelope caught my eye. No return address, just my name in neat black ink. My stomach twisted as I tore it open. It was a notice from a law firm in downtown Chicago, addressed to my parents' Winnetka home, but sent to me by mistake. My hands shook as I scanned the words. Estate planning. Asset transfer. Effective immediately. Karen and Michael had signed everything over to Lily. The house I'd saved from foreclosure a decade ago. The investment accounts I'd spent years advising them on. The life I'd built for them, brick by brick, with every paycheck I'd handed over. All of it legally hers. I read it again, the paper crumpling in my grip, hoping I'd missed something. I hadn't. They cut me out. The words clawed their way up my throat as I dialed Sophie, my best friend, my voice barely a whisper. Like I never existed. Sophie's sigh crackled through the phone. Those sneaky bastards, she said, her tone sharp but warm. What are you gonna do, Emma? I didn't answer right away. I paced my tiny Evanston studio, the walls closing in, the air thick with betrayal. 15 years. I'd been 20 when I started covering their mortgage, their car payments, Lily's endless ventures. I'd lived on instant noodles so they could dine at steakhouses in Glencoe. And this was my reward. I sank onto the couch, the springs creaking under me, and stared at the notice. My name wasn't even mentioned. Not a footnote, not a thank you. Just Lily's, scrawled across every line like she'd earned it. I thought of the summers I'd spent in that Winnetka house, scrubbing floors to help Mom keep it spotless, the winters I'd worked overtime to cover their heating bills. I thought of the dreams I'd let go grad school, travel, a life that wasn't tethered to their needs. All for nothing. Sophie's voice pulled me back. Emma, you still there? Yeah, I said, my voice hollow. I don't know what to do. You do, she said firmly. You're not their doormat anymore. Check your accounts. The ones they don't think about. My heart skipped. The emergency accounts. Years ago, I'd set up joint accounts for family emergencies, requiring my signature for any major changes. Karen and Michael had never paid attention to them, too busy spending my money on Lily's whims. They'd forgotten I held the keys. I grabbed my laptop, the screen's glow harsh in the dim apartment. Logging into the bank portal, I checked the balance. $400,000. Money I'd squirreled away, bit by bit, for a safety net they never questioned. They thought they could erase me, I said, my voice steadying. They forgot who's been holding the purse strings. Sophie laughed, a fierce edge to it. Damn right. So what's your move? I stared at the screen, the cursor blinking like a heartbeat. They'd planned this, hadn't they? Not just a spur-of-the-moment betrayal, but a calculated move to hand Lily everything while I got nothing. My finger hovered over the account settings. I could freeze it all. Cut them off. Let them feel what it's like to lose something they counted on. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like the dutiful daughter. I felt like a stranger in my own family, and that stranger was angry. They want to play games? I whispered to Sophie. Fine. Let's play. I sat in my Evanston studio, the laptop screen casting a cold glow across the room. The bank portal stared back at me, the $400,000 balance in the emergency account taunting me with its weight. My family's safety net. My money. They'd forgotten it existed, too busy spending my paychecks on Lily's dreams and Karen's orchids. Sophie's voice echoed in my head. You're not their doormat anymore. My finger hovered over the freeze transactions button. One click and their world would start to crack. I took a deep breath, the air stale with the scent of old coffee, and pressed it. The screen flashed, transactions frozen. A rush of power surged through me, sharp and unfamiliar. I snapped the laptop shut, the sound crisp in the quiet apartment. For the first time in 15 years, I didn't feel the crushing weight of guilt or duty. I felt strong. Let them panic, I thought. Let them scramble. Let them know what it's like to lose something they took for granted. My phone buzzed, shattering the moment. A text from Lily. Emma, what's going on? Tried to pull from the account. It's not working. I stared at her words, her casual tone like a match to dry tinder. Delete. Another buzz. Karen this time. Emma, this is serious. Your father's stressed. Fix the account now. I blocked her number, my hands steady. 6 hours later, my phone was a war zone. Lily's texts turned desperate. Sis, come on, there's a glitch or something. I need that money. Call me. I didn't. Karen, using a friend's phone now, sent a barrage. How dare you do this after all we've given you? Your father's heart can't take this. Please, sweetheart, don't be cruel. Cruel? I laughed, the sound harsh in the empty room. I'd given them everything, me savings, my dreams, my life, and they'd cut me out like I was nothing. I blocked her again. Sophie showed up that evening, her arms loaded with takeout from Lou Malnati's and a bottle of cheap red wine. She took one look at me, curled on my sagging couch, and grinned. "Looks like you need this," she said, pouring a generous glass. "I froze my family's $400,000 safety net," I said, grabbing the bottle instead. "Should I feel good about this?" Sophie sat beside me, her eyes fierce. "Sweetheart, you're not their safety net. You're their ATM. And they tried to wipe you out. What did they expect?" I sipped the wine, the tang sharp on my tongue. "They thought I'd keep giving forever," I said. "They thought I'd never push back." Sophie nodded, her voice soft but firm. "They're learning now. But Emma, you always said you didn't want to be like them. Make sure this doesn't turn you into something worse." Her words stung, but they grounded me. This wasn't just revenge. It was survival. I'd sacrificed too much promotions, relationships, a chance at my own Lafido, let them walk away with everything. My phone buzzed again. Michael, calling from a new number. I declined it, my heart twisting. "I need to talk to someone who gets it," I said. "Someone who knows money and law." Sophie's eyes lit up. "You mean Lauren? That hotshot financial lawyer from your old job? She still likes your Instagram posts." I hesitated. Lauren was sharp, professional, and, yeah, maybe a little interested. She'd know where I stood legally. "Call her," Sophie urged. "But, Emma, whatever you do next, do it for you. Not them." I nodded, staring at the blocked calls piling up on my phone. "They're about to learn what life's like without their personal bank," I said. "And I'm done feeling guilty about it." Sophie raised her glass. "To you, Emma. To finally choosing yourself." I clinked my glass against hers, the sound a small rebellion. They wanted to play with money? Fine. I'd show them how the game was really played. The morning sun cut through the smog of downtown Chicago, glinting off the glass towers as I walked into a sleek coffee shop on Michigan Avenue. My heart pounded, not just from the double espresso I downed, but from the weight of what I was about to do. Lauren, the financial lawyer Sophie had nudged me toward, was already there, looking sharper than I remembered in a tailored blazer, her dark hair pulled back, a tablet glowing in front of her. She smiled, warm but professional, as I slid into the booth. "Emma, good to see you," she said. "Now, tell me what's going on." I laid it all out, my voice low but steady. The Winnetka house I'd saved from foreclosure. The $400,000 emergency account I'd frozen. The estate transfer that handed everything to Lily, cutting me out after 15 years of funding their lives. Lauren listened, her eyes narrowing as I showed her the lawyer's notice, the one mistakenly sent to my Evanston studio. "They've been planning this," I said, my throat tight. "For years, while I paid for their vacations, their cars, Lily's gambling debts. They used me." Lauren leaned forward, her voice calm but firm. "Let me get this straight. You've been supporting them since you were 20. Every bonus, every raise, it went to them." I nodded, stirring my coffee, the spoon clinking against the mug. "I thought if I gave enough, they'd, I don't know, love me right." Lauren's expression softened. "That's not pathetic, Emma. It's human." She tapped her tablet, pulling up notes. "Here's what worries me. The lawyer handling their transfer, Rachel Harper. She's got a reputation." "What kind?" I asked, my stomach twisting. Lauren slid the tablet toward me, showing articles from Chicago Tribune archives. Fraud investigations that vanished. Shady asset transfers for wealthy clients. Rachel Harper's name tied to all of them, but never convicted. "She's slick," Lauren said. "And the way this transfer was done, loopholes buried in the paperwork, it smells like they've been planning to cut you out for at least 5 years. 5 years. The words hit like a punch. They'd been scheming while I paid their country club dues in Glencoe, while I lived on ramen to cover their bills. I leaned back, the coffee turning bitter in my mouth. "What's my legal standing on the frozen accounts?" I asked. Lauren's eyes lit up. "Strong. Those joint accounts require your signature for major changes. You had every right to freeze them." She paused, her voice dropping. "But, Emma, if you want to push this, I can dig into Rachel Harper. and Lily's so-called startup. I've got contacts who can look at her financials. Something's off. I can feel it. My phone buzzed, another text from an unknown number. Karen, no doubt, using someone else's phone. Your father's canceling his meds. Are you trying to hurt us? I showed Lauren the message, my hands trembling. They're playing me, I said. Dad's meds cost $20 a month with insurance. They spent more on coffee this morning. Lauren nodded, her jaw tight. They're desperate. People show their true colors when they're cornered. I thought of all the times I'd been desperate working overtime, skipping meals, saying no to friends to save money for their crises. Where were they then? Do it, I said, my voice hard. Investigate Rachel Harper. Investigate Lily's business. Dig up everything. Lauren reached across the table, her hand brushing mine for a moment. Be careful, Emma. Revenge is a tightrope. I pulled my hand back, meeting her gaze. Then make sure I don't fall. As I left the coffee shop, the Chicago wind whipped through me, cold and sharp. My phone buzzed again. Karen, relentless. I deleted the message without reading it. They'd taken my money, my time, my trust. Now I'd take back my power and they'd learn what it meant to cross me. The neon lights of the Joliet Casino glowed like a fever dream against the Illinois night. I parked my Honda in the lot of the Golden Star Casino, keeping 2 cars between me and Lily's silver BMW. For weeks, she'd claimed her late-night trips were investor meetings for her blockchain startup. But I knew better. I'd followed her here, my gut screaming that her vision was just another lie. Through my windshield, I watched her slip inside, glancing over her shoulder like she felt eyes on her. I snapped a photo, my phone's flash off, the image grainy but clear enough. Lily, in her designer jacket, disappearing into a den of slot machines and desperation. My phone buzzed. Lauren, with an update. Rachel Harper's been linked to 3 money laundering cases, she texted. All dismissed under shady circumstances. She's helping Lily hide assets, I'm sure of it. I was typing a reply when a sharp tap on my window made me jump. Karen stood there, her face twisted with rage, clutching a Prada bag I'd bought her last Christmas. I rolled the window down, just an inch. Following your sister now? She hissed. What kind of sick game is this, Emma? The kind where I expose the truth, I shot back, my voice steady despite the adrenaline. Do you know Lily's gambling away everything you gave her? Karen's eyes flashed. She's networking, building her business. I pointed at the casino's glowing sign. In there? Wake up, Mom. She's not running a startup. She's running a money laundering scheme with Rachel Harper. Karen yanked at the door handle, but I'd locked it. How dare you? She spat. You've always been jealous of her. Always trying to tear her down. Lily doesn't need my help with that, I said, stepping out of the car to face her. Tell me, Mom, how long have you been planning to cut me out? 5 years? More? How many vacations did I pay for while you and Dad schemed behind my back? Karen smoothed her dress, her voice icy. We did what was best for the family. I laughed, the sound raw. I'm family too. Or was I just a bank account until you didn't need me anymore? You were never the star, Emma, she said, her words slicing deep. You're the responsible one. The boring one. Lily has vision. Vision? I snapped. Lily's drowning in gambling debts and a fraud investigation. Karen's face paled. What investigation? The one I'm helping build, I said, my smile cold. Against her. Against Rachel Harper. You won't dare, she whispered. Try me. A car door slammed nearby. Michael stepped out of his Mercedes, looking as uncomfortable as ever in the casino's garish light. Karen, please, he said, his voice strained. Not here. I turned to him. Do you know about the money laundering, Dad? Or do you just sign whatever Mom puts in front of you? He flinched, his eyes on the pavement. Lily's made mistakes, he mumbled. But she's our daughter. She deserves another chance. Another chance? I laughed, bitter and sharp. I gave her 15 years of chances. I gave you everything I had. Every crisis, every bill, every temporary loan you never repaid. You begged and I gave. Karen snapped. We never asked for anything. But you did, I said, my voice breaking. Every single time. Sophie's car pulled into the lot, her headlights cutting through the tension. She stepped out, her eyes scanning the scene. Karen's fury, Michael's discomfort, my trembling hands. Everything okay, Emma? She asked, standing beside me. Karen glared. This is a family matter. Sophie smirked. Family? Funny. I thought you cut Emma out already. Or is she only family when you need her money? As we walked to Sophie's car, Karen called after us. You'll regret this when Lily's business takes off. You mean her money laundering? I turned, my voice steady. Don't worry, Mom. I'm making sure everything comes to light. Sophie squeezed my arm as we drove away, the casino's lights fading in the rearview. Tomorrow, I said, I'm filing a fraud petition with Lauren. Let them sweat. In the distance, I saw Karen and Michael arguing, Lily slipping out of the casino, unaware of the storm I was about to unleash. The Chicago wind howled outside my Evanston studio, rattling the windows as I scrolled through a real estate app on my phone. A notification popped up, and my breath caught. The Winnetka Housemead childhood home was listed for sale. Dirt cheap, a fire sale price far below market value. The colonial-style mansion filled my screen, its wraparound porch and arched windows glowing under a staged photo's perfect light. I'd restored those windows last year, paid for with my overtime checks. My throat tightened. Sophie, sitting across from me at my tiny kitchen table, glanced over. That's the house you saved, right? She asked softly. 10 years ago, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Dad lost his job. They were 3 months behind on the mortgage. I refinanced it in my name, used my first big bonus for the down payment. And now they're selling it. Sophie's eyes darkened. Trying to sell it, you mean? No one's touching that place until Lauren's fraud investigation wraps up. I closed the app, the image of the house burned into my mind. The lawn where I'd read novels in the summer, the kitchen where I'd learned to bake with Mom. All of it slipping away. Earlier that day, Sophie had texted me from her bank job in Chicago. Lily bounced another check she'd written. And Karen's credit card got declined at Neiman Marcus. She threw a fit. I stirred my coffee, now cold, thinking of the years I'd eaten instant noodles so they could shop at stores like that. Karma's a tough pill, huh? I said, my voice flat. But the words didn't feel as good as I'd hoped. Revenge was supposed to taste sweeter. That night, Lauren called while I was burning a frozen pizza in my ancient oven. You need to hear this, she said, her voice urgent. I checked out Rachel Harper and Lily's startup. It's not real, Emma. It's a shell company moving money in weird patterns. Classic money laundering. And Rachel Harper set it all up. I set the knife down, my pulse racing. Get this, Lauren continued. Some transactions tied to gambling operations in Joliet. Lily's late-night casino runs, her desperate texts, when you froze the $400,000, it all fits. She's in deep, isn't she? I asked, my voice steady but my hands shaking. If by deep you mean potential criminal charges, then yeah, Lauren said. And Rachel Harper knew exactly what she was doing. A knock at the door jolted me. Through the peephole, I saw Lily, hair messy, eyes bloodshot, nothing like her polished Instagram self. I have to go, I told Lauren, my heart pounding. Lily's here. I opened the door, keeping the chain on. What do you want? I asked, my voice cold. Lily's voice cracked. Please, Emma. I need help. I owe people money. Gambling debts? I said, watching her flinch. How do you know? Doesn't matter, I said. You're not my problem anymore. Mom and Dad made that clear when they signed everything to you. Her eyes welled up. They didn't mean it like that. Yes, they did, I said, meeting her gaze. Every signature, every clause was meant to erase me while taking my money. Now you're learning what it's like without your personal bank. These people are dangerous, Lily whispered, her voice trembling. If I don't pay, then sell your BMW, I cut in. Or that necklace I bought you last year. Oh, wait, did you already pawn it? She stepped back, tears spilling. You're my sister, she said. Funny how you forgot that when you took everything I built, I said, shutting the door as her protests faded. I leaned against it, my breath ragged. My phone buzzed. Karen, texting from a new number. Lily's crying in our driveway. Are you proud of yourself? I typed back, yes. Are you proud of raising a gambling addict with dirty money? No reply. I sank onto the couch, staring at the ceiling. The house was on the market, their accounts were frozen, and Lily was unraveling. I'd wanted them to feel this helpless, abandoned, like I had. But as I sat in the dark, the victory felt hollow. My phone buzzed again, Lauren's name flashing. We've got more on Rachel Harper, she said. This goes deeper than you think. I closed my eyes. Let it burn, I thought. Let their golden world crumble. The fluorescent lights of the Evanston diner buzzed softly, casting a harsh glow over the cracked vinyl booths. I sat across from Michael, my dad, watching him clutch a coffee mug he hadn't touched. He looked smaller than I remembered, no pressed polo or country club swagger, just a tired man in a faded sweater. The Chicago wind howled outside, rattling the diner's windows, but inside, the air felt heavy with unspoken truths. I know, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. About the asset transfer. About Lily's gambling. About everything. And you did nothing, I said, my words sharp, cutting through the hum of the jukebox. Michael's face crumpled, his eyes fixed on the coffee's dark surface. I'm a coward, Emma, he said, his voice breaking. Every time your mom pushed for more money, every time Lily messed up, I stayed quiet. It was easier than fighting, easier than facing the truth. I leaned back, my hands gripping the edge of the table. I needed a dad, I said, my voice steady but raw. Not a bystander. The waitress passed by, refilling our mugs, the coffee's bitter steam rising between us. Michael kept talking, his words spilling out like a confession. Lily's debts are worse than you think, he said. The people she's tangled with, they showed up at the Winnetka house last night. My heart skipped. Did they hurt anyone? I asked, hating the worry that crept into my voice. No, he said. But they made it clear what happens if she doesn't pay. He reached into his coat and pulled out an envelope, sliding it across the table. That's why I'm here. I opened it, my fingers trembling. Inside was a notarized document, pages of typed confessions. The money laundering, Rachel Harper's shady deals, the asset transfer that cut me out. Michael's signature was scrawled at the bottom, bold and final. Why? I asked, my voice barely audible. Because it's time someone in this family did the right thing, he said, meeting my eyes for the first time. Use it, Emma. Help Lauren's investigation. It might reduce Lily's charges if I come forward now. My phone buzzed, Lauren's name flashing. I answered, keeping my eyes on Michael. Rachel Harper's pleading guilty, she said, her voice sharp with excitement. She's spilling everything: bank records, client lists. The Chicago prosecutors moving fast. I looked at Michael, his face pale but resolute. How much does Lily owe? I asked him, my voice low. 300,000, he said, the number hitting like a brick. Jesus, I muttered. Mom's selling her jewelry, he added. Next, it'll be the car. But it won't be enough. And you think that's my problem? I said, my voice rising. I'm not the one who built this mess. Michael pushed his mug away, his hands shaking. I just needed you to know the truth, Emma, and to say I'm sorry. For everything. My phone buzzed again. Sophie, texting. Turn on the news now. I opened a local Chicago news app. Breaking news, prominent lawyer under investigation for fraud. Rachel Harper's face stared back, her polished smile frozen in a mugshot. It's starting, I told Michael, my voice steady. He nodded, slow and heavy. Good. They might arrest Lily. Better than what those loan sharks would do, he said, his voice hollow. He stood, leaving a crumpled 20 for the coffee. Whatever happens, Emma, you did the right thing. Even if it doesn't feel like it. He walked out into the night, his shoulders hunched against the wind. I sat there, the diner's hum fading as the news played on my phone. Organized crime links. Millions laundered. Lily's name hadn't surfaced yet, but it would. Lauren called again. Police are heading to your parents' house with a search warrant, she said. They're questioning Lily. I stared at the envelope, Michael's confession heavy in my hands. My family was unraveling, and I'd lit the fuse. But as I paid the bill and stepped into the cold, I didn't feel guilt or triumph. Just a quiet resolve. They'd face the consequences, and I'd finally walk away. The Winnetka Street was eerily quiet as I pulled up to my childhood home, the for sale sign now taped over with police notices. The colonial mansion loomed in the dusk, its arched windows dark, the lawn unkempt. My heart thudded as I stepped out of my Honda, the Chicago air sharp with the bite of early spring. Police cars lined the curb, their lights flashing silently. Karen stood at the front door, her hands covering her mouth, her eyes wide with panic. Lily sat on the steps, head buried in her hands, her designer jacket crumpled. I clutched Michael's confession, the envelope heavy as a stone. Detective Alvarez approached, her badge glinting under the streetlights. Miss Thompson, she said, her voice calm but firm. We understand you have information about this case. I handed her the envelope, my fingers steady despite the storm inside me. Everything you need is in there, I said. Money laundering. Rachel Harper's schemes. The asset transfer. My dad's words signed and notarized. Karen's cry cut through the air, raw and jagged. How could you, Emma? How could you do this to us? How could I? I turned to face her, my voice low but fierce. How could you take everything I had for 15 years, then throw me away? How could you watch Lily destroy herself and call it ambition? How could you? Karen's face crumpled, but she didn't answer. She collapsed against the doorframe, sobbing, her designer scarf slipping to the ground. I looked at Lily, her eyes red, her hands trembling as officers approached. Emma, please, she whispered. I'm not your ATM anymore, I said, my voice soft but final. I'm not your safety net. I'm just the daughter you never wanted. The officers cuffed Lily, her protests fading as they led her to a police car. Michael stood on the porch, his face pale but his posture straight for the first time in years. He gave me a slight nod, a silent acknowledgement that this was the end. Lauren appeared beside me, her blazer sharp against the chaos. You okay? She asked, her voice low. No, I said, watching the police car pull away. But I will be. My phone buzzed. Sophie, texting. My guest room's ready. Wine's chilled. Come when you're done. I took one last look at the house. The porch where I'd spent summers reading. The kitchen where I'd paid for every upgrade. The life I'd poured into a family that planned to erase me. Karen's sobs echoed behind me, but I didn't turn back. Michael's confession had cracked their world open, and Rachel Harper's guilty plea was tearing it apart. The Chicago News was already buzzing organized crime, millions laundered, arrests imminent. Lily's name would hit the headlines soon, and I'd be the one who'd handed over the match. I drove away with Lauren, the Winnetka mansion shrinking in my rearview. The weight of 15 years, every sacrifice, every dollar, every dream I'd let go lifted slightly, but not enough to feel like victory. Revenge wasn't the rush I'd expected. It was quieter, heavier, a certainty that I'd done what was right, even if it hurt. They'd face the courts, the debts, the truth. And I'd face myself, finally free of their chains. Sophie was waiting when I got to her Lakeview apartment, a bottle of red open on the counter. You did it, she said, pulling me into a hug. You broke their golden world. I nodded, sinking onto her couch, the city's skyline twinkling through the window. It's over, I said, my voice steady. Lauren sat beside me, her tablet glowing with case updates. The police are searching the house now, she said. Lily's in custody. Your dad's testimony sealed it. I stared at the wine in my glass, the surface catching the light. Let them fall, I said. I'm done catching them. As Sophie poured another round, I felt the first stirrings of something new. Not joy, not yet, but a space where guilt used to live. I'd burned their world to the ground, not for revenge, but for me. For the life I'd start building tomorrow, one that didn't belong to them. I raised my glass, meeting Sophie's eyes. To freedom, I said. To choosing myself. The clink of our glasses echoed, a small, defiant sound in the quiet night. The real estate agent handed me the keys to my new Lakeview apartment, her smile as bright as the Chicago sun streaming through the bare windows. Congratulations, Miss Thompson. It's all yours, she said, her voice warm. I stood in the empty living room, the hardwood floors gleaming, the city's hum faint beyond the glass. For the first time in 15 years, I felt something unfamiliar. Peace. No guilt over the deposit I'd put down. No dread about setting aside money for family emergencies. Just a space I'd bought with my own savings for me. My phone rang, Lauren's name flashing. I answered, leaning against the freshly painted wall. Lily pleaded guilty, she said, her voice steady. 2 years, plus restitution. The organized crime link shifted focus to bigger players. Rachel Harper's disbarred, facing 5 to 7 years. She paused. Your dad's testimony made the difference, Emma. The prosecutor was impressed. I slid to the floor, the cool wall against my back. Any word from Mom? I asked. Karen's selling what's left, Lauren said, claiming she knew nothing about the money laundering. Another pause. She asked if you were happy. Happy? The word caught me off guard. In 15 years of funding Karen's lifestyle, her Glencoe Country Club dues, her Winnetka Orchid never once asked if I was happy. A knock at the door broke the moment. Sophie stood there, holding a bottle of champagne and 2 glasses. First night in your new place, she announced, striding in. We're celebrating. I put Lauren on speaker as Sophie poured, the bubbles fizzing in the quiet room. Michael left something for you at my office, Lauren said. Want me to bring it over? What is it? I asked, my throat tightening. A letter, Lauren said. And a family photo album. I swallowed hard. Those albums held 20 years of memories, birthdays in the Winnetka backyard, graduations, Christmases before money poisoned everything. Bring them, I said, my voice soft. Sophie and I started unpacking, each box a small victory. New dishes I'd bought instead of paying Lily's car loans. A painting I'd chosen instead of Karen's club fees. Every item was mine, not theirs. Lauren arrived with a pizza and a wooden box. We sat on the floor, eating straight from the box, the champagne cold and sharp. I opened Michael's letter, my hands trembling slightly. Dear Emma, it began. These albums are yours. They remind me of when we were a real family, before greed took over. Your mother and I failed you. We took your love and made it an obligation. We treated your kindness like a right. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just want you to know you were always enough. Always extraordinary. We were too blind to see it. Lily starts her sentence next week. Your mom's with her sister. The house is being auctioned. Everything we built on your sacrifices is gone, and that's how it should be. Be happy, Emma. Be free. Love, Dad. I closed the letter, my eyes stinging. You okay? Sophie asked, her voice gentle. Yeah, I said, grabbing the album. I think I am. We flipped through the photos, laughing at old hairstyles, pausing at forgotten moments. In each one, I searched my younger self's face for signs of what was coming: sacrifice, betrayal, the fight to break free. Lauren pointed to a Christmas shot, everyone smiling. We were happy once, she said. Before money became the only thing that mattered. My phone buzzed. A text from Karen. House auctions tomorrow. Last chance to save it. I showed Sophie and Lauren. She's still trying, Sophie said, rolling her eyes. I deleted the message, my heart steady. It's not working anymore, I said. Lauren raised her glass. To new beginnings, she said. To freedom. I looked around my new home, the boxes waiting to be unpacked, the friends who loved me without strings. The weight of 15 years lifted completely. My phone buzzed again. Michael. Auction's done. It's over. I hope you find peace. I typed back, I have. Then I set the phone down, turning to Sophie and Lauren. Who's ready to paint this place? I asked, grinning. Maybe loving people who never loved me back wasn't my weakness. Maybe letting them go, choosing myself, building a life free of their poison, that was my strength. A strength that felt like freedom.